This is the week that every team looks forward to, and only two teams get it right now. What are the Chiefs doing to maximize their bye week and get ready for their next game? Matt Derrick's going to tell us all about it today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. You can start your season with a big return right now at FanDuel. Bet $5, and you can get $200 back in bonus bets just for winning. Win or lose is what I should say. That first $5 bet, get it at FanDuel.com and get started. We're going to get started with our weekly guest, the man that tells us the things that we need to know that I don't tell you enough, Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com and Chiefs Digest here on the YouTube platform. Make sure you check him out. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, where I've already started the Athletic Matrix prep for this year so you can be ready for the draft. We'll have some out on that, and you can see my latest piece on the fumbling that is going on with some of these head coaching decisions up in New England. You can find that at NFL33.com, as well as all the other content over at RGR Football. Check those out. Thanks for making us your first listen. Go to another Locked On show for your next listen, because we're here free for you 5 days a week. Plus, you can always get that extra information over at 816-357-8781. Thank you. There's wild card games that are going to happen that have nothing to do with the Chiefs other than to see who gets to beat up on who. We're going to talk about those matchups and predictions coming up later in the show. What is the best case scenario for some of these positions that we've got a little more information on? That's coming up next, but we start, which is probably one of the least covered topics in the NFL, in my opinion, Matt, is what the guys do when they're not practicing or in meetings and how they actually try to take care of themselves. And I've been trying to look more at it over the last couple of weeks, knowing that this was coming. But from your perspective, what's the most important thing that players can be doing right now when they don't have to be out on the field and they can actually take care of their bodies a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things for sure that the nutritionists and the athletic trainers, and I think everybody wants the players to get down to, is to have a routine. I mean, the important thing is, most important thing, and probably the thing that does not definitely get talked about enough, is staying in your routine this week. Because I get it, you're young guys and everything like that, but you can't all of a sudden be staying up until 3:00 in the morning because you don't have a game that week, playing video games or chilling with your boys and all that, and then get back into a regular work routine next week. I mean, you gotta continue taking care of making sure you're staying on your same patterns, your same cycles, same sleep cycles, all of that, getting the same kind of sleep, eating well, all of that fun stuff. This isn't a cheat week. This is still a business week. Even if you have a couple days without practice, this is, a little bit different. You might be, working a little bit more on the iPad and looking at film and doing all of these things. There'll probably be some meeting, maybe even some virtual meetings, so that, you don't always have to come in. And it's particularly with the snow. I mean, there might be something that they want the players to go ahead and stay at home and not get out too much, and just be able to do some things virtually. But that's the big thing, Ryan. I mean, is that they stress to the players is, make sure that you take care of yourselves. And part of that is just, staying in your same patterns and everything so that you're not disrupting your routine.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, because the grind goes on whether you're playing this week or not. You still have to do the prep. They will have some, like you said, meetings. Will they be on the field this week? I think there was a session planned for later in the week, right?
Yeah, it sounded like it was probably later in the week. Andy did plan on giving the players a couple of days off. Remember they had the odd trip coming back from Denver. So, they stayed in Denver Sunday night, came back late Monday morning, early afternoon, got back home. So, yeah, the plan was to give them a couple of days off, probably be back in on Thursday or Friday. Usually, I mean, they've done it differently a couple of times this season, but normally what Andy would do is maybe have them come back in on a Friday, just to get some things done. Sunday would be kind of a walkthrough day, and then Monday kind of begins a regular game week where they're going to be coming in for meetings. Tuesday kind of have an off day, and then really get into things next Wednesday.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, is to make the most physically as you can while staying mentally sharp. Part of that is prepping on film. And as you said, you got the iPad at home. You can access all the film you need without knowing who's going to be where. We will talk about that coming up later in the show, folks. But for me, one of the advantages that I think the Chiefs have in this situation is they know everybody. They've played everybody in this field. So it isn't just going back like the Ravens was a very early ball game, right? So prepping for that's a little bit different given how much that team has evolved through the season as much as any other, to tell you the truth. But having the ability to go say in a given 3 days off, go look at the last 3 games for each of your potential opponents. That is a lot of study time that I think the mental side pays off this week nearly as much as the physical side does.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely huge for this team that they've played every AFC playoff team. There's nothing that's going to surprise them. They've seen everybody, so they're familiar with everybody to a little bit of a degree. There's a couple of opponents they saw twice, so that makes it a little bit easier still. But yeah, I mean, beginning part of this week, for the players, it's probably not as much about getting opponent specific. They might a little bit, do a little bit, but remember, they're not going to be on the field that much. They really won't be doing too much. They might be watching film. It's really more for the scouts and for the coaches. They're the ones that are really going to be, breaking down all the possible teams that they could be facing. They're not going to worry too much about Baltimore or Buffalo this week because they know they're not going to face them in the divisional round. So it's going to be the other teams. But the one great thing for the Chiefs, as far as prep standpoint goes, is even if they do play on a Saturday in the divisional round, which I think is looking more and more likely based on how the schedule is built. But remember, the first 3 games are all the AFC games. They got the 2 games on Saturday and the early game Sunday are all the AFC playoffs will be set by 3:00 Sunday afternoon. So, that's a great advantage for the Chiefs to know who their opponent's going to be even a few hours earlier. So, that's one of the reasons why, the coaches all love to be able to get together, watch those games together on the wild card on Saturday, kind of breaking down. And then you've already eliminated 2 opponents. So now, you're down to 4 teams that you could possibly be playing at that point. 3 teams, I guess, essentially. I might get my math right. You narrow it down to 3. So now, you go to bed Saturday night, only working on 3 teams, and then you're going to have it down to 1 early in the day on Sunday. So that's a great advantage for the Chiefs from that standpoint. And then obviously once the players know, they'll be getting film onto their iPads and getting everything that they need so they can start scouting their opponents.
Yeah, it really is, as you said earlier, a routine. This is what happens next. It's a process. And they'll have the advantage. And I love the fact that they got the early game there. Like you said, they'll probably play the early game in the divisional round. But who and when is the best scenario to have players available for that early game? We're going to hit that coming up next. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet just $5 to get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets back on your account, win or lose. Right now, FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, for same-game parlays, and much, much more. You can get in the action right now, whether it's the wild card round to see what the Bills and Broncos do, whether it's the Chargers, or you're just getting ready for the divisional round where the Chiefs are back in it. Visit FanDuel.com today. Get signed up. Get started with $200 in bonus bets. Right now, it's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff unforgettable with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now, folks, make sure that you go check out Matt at ChiefsDigest.com and Chiefs Digest here on the platform. You can find him at 41 in the mic. That is the podcast that I think is really unique and a fresh thing to have you twisted and be the host on that most nights. I enjoy that. That's fun for me. But you can check out my stuff over at NFL33.com. I'm really happy with the last one because I was uber upset about one maneuver that happened. And you can go read about it. It's great. And I'll have more for you, especially as we get the news this afternoon, a little bit before we started. There's been another coaching change inside the AFC West. No longer is there a former linebacker running the team that used to be known as the Oakland Raiders there in Las Vegas. I think they should probably just change their name at that point, too, to the Fighting Tom Brady's, and we'll see what happens. But just any reaction to that? It kind of felt like it was coming to me, but I'm generally more curmudgeon than most.
No, it did feel like that it was coming, and I don't think that Antonio Pierce really did anything necessarily to cause himself to lose the job. It's just that he was in a job that doesn't have a quarterback and doesn't have a very good roster. Were there some things off the field that were causing distractions? Yeah, I don't think that those were significant though, and I don't think you can really say that Antonio Pierce lost that team because I think they fought as well as they could till the very end. It's just that they're not very good and they don't have a quarterback. But yeah, you got Tom Brady now who's going to have a voice in there, and certainly probably wants to have his influence, and I get Mark Davis probably wants to have Tom Brady's influence in there as well as far as choosing a coach. Antonio Pierce could have been that, but if Mike Vrabel or somebody from the New England tree ends up in Vegas, I guess we should not be terribly surprised. But at the same time, do you expect anything's going to change in Vegas until they fix the quarterback spot? No, because I mean, things are going well in Denver and the Chargers right now, and it's because they look like they fixed the quarterback spots and they got a good head coach.
Yeah, it works. Mike Vrabel has done a lot without having quarterbacks, so I guess we'll see what he can do. That is also part of the opinion piece that you guys can get into right now on NFL 33. Without that sidestep, there's a couple of significant scenarios that I want to ask you about in your personal opinion, knowing the players, having spoken to them through the season and how we are now. There was a lot of reps for DJ Humphries in this last ball game. There was a lot of reps for a number of cornerbacks. Let's start on the defensive side. It feels to me like the sudden announcement of Jalen Watson being able to have his window open back up and cleared to actually start doing football activities, it felt like that crept up on everybody, maybe even the team. And that makes me feel like maybe he's farther along than they expected. I don't know that I'd rush him back into the divisional game, but if he's able, would you have him suit up and play for the divisional, or would you wait for the AFC Championship, assuming that you get there?
Yeah, I think that the AFC Championship would be much more likely, and that's that Friday would be when his practice window closes right before the AFC Championship game. So I think that would be far more likely. Is it possible in the divisional round? I mean, based on at least the Chiefs' actions, it's suggesting that it's a possibility. I mean, but go back and remember, the Chiefs were never counting on Jalen Watson being back this season. He had a fractured fibula, fractured ankle. He had to have an additional tightrope surgery for a high ankle sprain. And, that was expected to be a minimum of 12 weeks before he could get back to football activities. I mean, he's already had a schedule as far as having his practice window open. So that's pretty remarkable. Now, if that means that he can come back and be some portion of Jalen Watson, what point does that become viable for the Chiefs? Does he have to be 100%? Might not be 100% this season. Is he going to be 80%? Is that the barrier? Is 70%? Is that the threshold for where you're like, okay, let's see what Jalen's got out there? Because that's the other tough thing too, is that you're not at a point right now where you can experiment. I mean, you're putting the guy out there, you're asking him to make plays, and this is clearly different than Brian Cook last year, where the Chiefs were like saying, oh, he's day to day, week to week, maybe he'll come back. No, he had surgery, very similar type surgeries, more extensive. The Chiefs knew that he was going to be out for 3 or 4 months, but kept that dream alive. Maybe Brian Cook comes back for the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. We don't know. They knew. They were just sandbagging. I don't think that's the case with Jalen Watson, because at least this is in the realm of possibilities. It would be an incredible recovery for him if he can get out there and if he can be anywhere close to 100%. And obviously, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, there's been no one who has stepped up at this point to say that job is theirs and make them feel confident that there's anybody that can man that spot opposite Trent McDuffie at 100%.
I think that's what brings the question to me, because it's 70 at a minimum percent to me, or you're not upgrading yourself and you're putting him out there at risk for no reason. Now, honestly, it's probably closer to 80%. Jalen played well and has in past seasons, but let's not sugarcoat it. He's not all world. 60% of Jalen Watson is probably not better than what you're getting right now elsewise. So why push him? So that's kind of where I come down to as well. And what we saw in the return on the offensive side with DJ Humphries taking a heavy load of snaps, maybe more so than I had actually anticipated, that begs the question, after reflection on this and knowing that everybody's getting more rest, is the rust knocked off enough that you're willing to put him out there in the divisional game at left tackle with Joe Thuney helping him out to his inside? Or do you go back to what got you to this point and let Tooney play tackle, let DJ rest a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, from what I have seen from some of the reaction from just fans, from analysts about DJ Humphries, there's no in between. It seems like the general conclusion is either, no, he's terrible, he can't do anything for this team, Joe Tooney has to play, and DJ Humphries is maybe there and just in case something happens to Joe Tooney, or it's the other end, which is that he's fine, and Joe Tooney is an all-pro left guard, so leave him there, start DJ Humphries, and you're fine. And if things go south, you can always go back. That's probably where I land on it, because I don't think that it's a situation where you can swing the other way. I don't think it's a situation where you start, Joe Tooney at left tackle and then things don't go well, and then you're bringing in DJ Humphries and moving Tooney back. I don't think that's the ideal scenario for anybody. And the Chiefs, what they wanted to find out was whether DJ Humphries was good enough to handle that job for them. Was Andy Reid and Andy Heck convinced? I don't know. I mean, we've only got to hear from Andy Reid after the game, and he was pretty circumspect about making sure that he didn't see anything. I mean, honestly, I did not think that DJ Humphries was that bad. I thought he had probably for sure 2 snaps that he would like to have back. But considering the fact that how much the Broncos were attacking the edges in that game and how good their pass rush is, the fact that they didn't, pile up 28 pressures and 7 sacks or something crazy like that, I think actually speaks a little bit to how well the DJ Humphries did hold up and did play. There were times in that game where the Broncos were just not even bothering rushing up the middle. They were just attacking the edges. And I thought DJ Humphries did okay. Was it all pro work? No, but that's not what you're asking for if you're the Chiefs. You're asking for professional work. And honestly, I mean, that was kind of what you got from Joe Tooney. We got to see a little bit of maybe the extended plays of DJ Humphries, because Carson Wentz was not getting rid of the football at the same pace that Patrick Mahomes has when he's been playing with Joe Tooney. So it's not apples to apples. It's maybe apples to pears. So that's why I, concentrating on just how much time that he was able to win his battles, give, in this case, it was to Mahomes 2.5, 3 seconds to make a decision. I think DJ Humphries did okay in that regard.
I think so as well. We had such a gauntlet to run and watch them play against in the last, 5 games of the pass rushes, whether it's Myles Garrett or TJ or Will Anderson. Like, there were some primetime pass rushers. I would argue that the guy that has the most threatening first step is Nick Bonito. And so he got maybe the fastest of those threats thrown at him. And if by some miracle the Denver Broncos were able to pull off an upset of the Buffalo Bills, you'd be facing them again. And I think that really becomes the question there. I was encouraged as well. So I think you and I are on the same page. Folks, leave us your thoughts. How do you want to see it go? Put it down in the YouTube comments. We have to look at these games just to figure out who might be that opponent. We're going to take a look at those matchups. I might even give you a prediction or two. We'll see if Matt cares to or not. Coming up next. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has daily fantasy sports and makes it accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. Run your game all season long at Prize Picks. They make it simple, and they even invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So sign up today and you can get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. You don't even have to win to receive that 50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the Game Time app and use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup. Super simple. Download that app, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and get that 50 bonus for playing a $5 lineup. Super easy over at Prize Picks. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? They definitely happened to me, and they helped a lot. There's a few subscriptions I didn't even realize I was still paying for. Rocket Money made it easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant on your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel the unwanted subscriptions, monitoring your spending, and helps you lower your bills and everything that you're spending to grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, helps you, whether it's your subscriptions, your spending habits, or your goals that you want for this year. Rocket Money has 5 million users, and they've saved over 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they're using the app's premium services. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions right now and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Once again, get everything from Matt at ChiefsDigest.com and from my stuff at RGR Football and NFL 33. Matt, this is the fun part. This is pure conjecture, has nothing to do with the Chiefs other than the fact that these outcomes will determine what happens and who the Chiefs have to face. Maybe the most intriguing matchup to me, the one that is probably the best odds to be an upset, I think I may actually pick this upset. You guys will have to see that on Friday, is Chargers versus Texans, the first game of the slate on Saturday, as you said. How do you see this matchup? I mean, what's your feel for it at this point in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw and the Texans kind of really hit their breaking point when they lost Tank Dell in the Chiefs game. I mean, they're not the same team since then. I mean, that's just such an important part of their offense not to have. And not only was it, I think, an emotional, obviously impactful moment in that game, but since then, I mean, it makes them much more one or two dimensional. They just don't have the same attacking abilities without him. They still have a good set of skilled players, but it's just not the same without Tank Dell. He just gives them an explosion that they just don't get from anybody else, and at least in multiple. So I don't think the Texans are the same team, and they have been, kind of up and down all year long. This has not been the step forward of the Texans that I think a lot of people thought that you might get. CJ Stroud's been good. Has he been better than last year? I don't know that he really has been. I mean, I feel like he's been pretty much very similar as he was last year. I don't think it's been a big step forward year. The South is a bad division for the most part, and that's how the Texans were able to win it. Who's the better team in this matchup? I think the Chargers are. I think they've got the better quarterback. I mean, we'll see what J.K. Dobbins can do coming back and making his return, but if he is healthy, that's a big addition back to that Chargers offense. And obviously the Chargers offensive line has really been playing well at the end of the season, and they've got a decent defense as well. So I haven't really worked out scores on any of these games, Ryan, but sure. I mean, my feeling is I think the Chargers are like about a 75% win. I mean, this is a team that even on the road, I think they should win this game.
I agree with you, and I'll have to make my final pick on Friday, folks. Don't miss that show as we set you up for the wild card round. It's probably the one that I see is the obviously, if I'm going to pick it, an upset possibility. The next one is not, in my mind, any way whatsoever. We saw the Steelers up close. Nothing's changed. If they've only gotten worse since then. The Ravens, on the other hand, are still, I think, on the ascension, just like the Chiefs are, and probably of the last 3 weeks, maybe the most formidable team in this field. Steelers at Ravens. That's the second game of Saturday. Do you see it any other way than the Ravens walk away from this one?
It's hard to see it any other way. I mean, the Steelers finished the season on a 3-game losing streak. They had the NFC North was in their control, and the number 3 seed was in their hands. All they had to do was win a game at some point, and they didn't do it. That team is unraveling. There's obviously some problems in that locker room. Some players are sideways with each other, whether it's the quarterback and the star receiver or something else that's going on in that team. I mean, Mike Tomlin has always had to juggle, it seems like, personalities in that locker room, and he always gets them to the playoffs. I mean, this is the first time that I really feel like that he's been challenged late in the season, as far as his locker room not responding, and maybe, having a couple of guys that aren't on the same page with him. And right now that team looks like a mess. I mean, the Chiefs absolutely exposed that. I think you saw more of it in week 18. So yeah, I mean, I want to say like a 2% chance of an upset here. I mean, this is, the Ravens should absolutely walk away with this one.
Once again, I'm not going to argue with you in any way, shape, or form. What I'm not going to tell you guys is what I think of this next game. That I will leave you on Friday. But maybe in a strange way, the premier matchup, given how well the defense has been playing in Denver, given that the defense is a little bit absentee in Buffalo. Usually the 2-7 is a done deal, but I think this might be the most close to a toss-up for me. How do you see Broncos versus Bills?
Yeah, this could be. I mean, I still think that the Bills are going to win this game because they are the better team. It's definitely in between. I mean, I feel like this is a game that the Bills probably win about 75% of the time, and it could be a blowout. I mean, if Buffalo's offense is on that day, they could absolutely run away from the Broncos. They've done it before this season, but I don't think they're going to, because the Broncos do have a really good defense, and that's, to me, I mean, there was I know some people were serious, some people joking about the Chiefs choosing the opponent for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I think the Denver Broncos are the toughest opponent for the Bills, because that defense can go in and give the Buffalo offense a fight, and doesn't necessarily mean that would impact Buffalo 2 weeks down the road in a potential AFC Championship game. But I think you want, if you're the Chiefs, you want your opponents to have the toughest road possible to the AFC title game. And Denver is going to be the team that would give, I think, Buffalo the best fight, just because they are a more physical team, especially on defense. If the Bills defense, however, can do what the Chiefs could not do, their backups could not do against Denver, which has caused Bo Nix to make his mistakes, then this can be something. I mean, I expect that Buffalo is going to cause Bo Nix to make mistakes, which is why this game might even get out of hands, but I think is going to be a Bills victory. But if not, if Bo Nix plays the way that he did against the Chiefs, doesn't turn over the football, this could be interesting. That would be the path to a Denver upset.
It certainly is. And so according to Matt's scenarios, it looks like Chargers come to Arrowhead in the next the divisional round in order for that matchup. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think of Broncos versus Bills coming up on Friday with Chris. So make sure you like and sub and hit that bell. Make sure you're part of us every single day, because we don't take weeks off. I know it's a bye week. There's going to be a whole offseason. You're not going to get rid of me that way either. Matt will be here every week, just like he always is. So, Matt, thanks for taking the time on what is a rest week for you as well to give us the lowdown. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, Ryan. Anytime.
I hope you guys have a fun day. Tomorrow, Chris is going to have an interesting guest. And then Friday, we are going to set it loose. We'll give you our predictions for this wild card weekend and take a look at what it looks like for the Chiefs. Thanks for being with us. Have a great day today. Make sure you get everything set up for this weekend, Saturday and Sunday games. Don't forget the Saturdays. And we'll be with you tomorrow.